I believe I'm saying this right. Sven, who also gave us a super chat, Stiletto Ray on YouTube, saying, I recommend Kenneth checking out Dan Dennett and his thought experiment about neuroscientists and the danger of ripping faith away from everyone and how faith can be useful. Thank you for the super chat. Whenever you're ready, Sven, what were you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, no worries. We can try to keep this short. I will brief the thought experiment real quick. There is in the Netherlands, they have made a chip that they can put into people's brains with OCD, and they can turn off whenever your compulsive disorders whenever you start to have one. And so Dan Dennett put forward the thought experiment that if the neuroscientist does this to someone with OCD, and they tell them you no longer have free will because we are now going to control your OCD, and that person goes out and starts giving into their urges and doing bad things, and they eventually hurt someone. They go to court and they tell the judge that they can't be held liable because they have no free will. And they call the doctor in, and they ask, did you tell this person that they wouldn't have free will because you were controlling their compulsive disorders? And they said, yes, we did. And that would be a very dangerous, slippery slope. And that's why Dan Dennett also acknowledges that, like, for people who don't have a sound moral compass or don't have a sound purpose to life, that is why faith is a tool that has got humanity through the past however long, and that it should not just be that there is a big danger in neuroscientists actively saying there's no free will when humans aren't to the level where we can all have a perfect moral compass yet. So I heard you say in the show tonight that you don't see any use for faith, but Dan Dennett, the leading determinist philosopher, very much says that faith cannot just be ripped away from humanity at one time. Would you acknowledge that it at least is useful?
Okay, so belief is powerful. And yes, faith can be useful for compelling people to believe things. But if what we care about is people's beliefs being consistent with reality, then faith is not useful. Faith is a barrier to progress when it comes to more people having beliefs that are consistent with reality.
As a humanist would say that it's more important to have a compassionate world than a true, a compassionate society than a society who relies on truth.
I mean, that's already a sort of a false dichotomy. That's already sort of a false dichotomy. There's nothing about believing things that are true that is inconsistent with being compassionate or being a humanist. You don't have to have faith in anything to be a humanist.
If you go to a lot of the live chats, you will see that people say, like, I hope this caller never loses their faith because they'll be a dangerous person. So I do think that in our current atmosphere and the current way that humans work, it is a dichotomy. You either are going to have a world where people don't believe in free will, or that do believe in free will and make good decisions, or you're going to have people who don't believe in free will and do whatever they want because there's no punishment, there's no moral compass given to us.
No, that's bullshit. You could have a world that is complete. You could have a global population that is completely agnostic on the issue of free will. You could have everybody going, we don't know. And you could still have good evidence-based reasons for being a moral person. You can derive purely secular morality. Yeah, so when we talk about the usefulness of faith, yes, faith can compel people to behave certain ways. But the same faith that can compel people to be good and moral can also compel people to fly airplanes into skyscrapers and blow up abortion clinics and beat their kids.
But would you not agree it goes the same way with you? People knowing that there's no objective morality can lead to people murdering because they don't care that there's no God. Or
how do we go to there's no objective morality? There's absolutely objective morality. How did you get to there's no objective morality? There's absolutely objective morality, even without faith.
Morality would have to be subjective. You would have to set a goal. If your subjective goal is to increase well-being, then yes, you have an objective of increasing well-being, but that's still subjective to each person. Does each person care that well-being is the way to go?
But once you have, everybody thinks well-being is the way to go. They just disagree about how to get there. But once you have well-being as a goal, you can make objective assessments about whether you're getting closer to or further away from well-being.
Okay. I know you guys are way over. I feel like I've made my point. Leading philosophers are warning against neuroscientists from pushing this propaganda out too early in society. If you don't want to acknowledge that, that's fine. We can both agree. If there's a utopia where truth matters to everyone and we'll all be happy spreading it, great. But that's just not the world we live in right now.
No, we are not in a world where truth matters to everyone. And a lot of people believe a lot of bullshit based on faith. And look at how it's going.
Right. We're also not in a world where everyone believes well-being is the objective. Humanity's well-being.
Well, I mean, I think that their behavior people's behavior indicates that, yes, they do. I mean, you kind of can't act against what you think is going to be in the interest of your own well-being, at least in some sense. I mean, sure, there are people that are going to annihilate themselves and, don't want to be, part of this world anymore. Well, then they're out of the conversation on morality, because morality is for, the living. So for people who don't want to pursue well-being, knock yourself out. You're out of the conversation right away when it comes to morality.
Okay. I don't want to continue on too long. I know you guys are over. This is something I'm very passionate about because I know a lot of nihilists and life is. Ooh.
Well, here, so check it out. So I'm an atheist. I'm a naturalist. I'm not a nihilist. One does not necessarily lead to the other. Caring a lot about whether or not your beliefs are consistent with reality does not necessarily lead to nihilism.
I agree, but it can't necessarily, and does are not equal. It's great that you are able to have a determinist view and keep on seeing life. For me, if this was just a determinist world, I would want to have nothing to do with it.
But what does that have to do with whether or not it's true or not?
That you're that kind of brain.
But what does that have to do with whether or not it's true? I mean, I could say I don't want to live in a world where I'm not fucking Scarlett Johansson. That doesn't make it.
Whereas leading philosopher determinists are saying there's more to life than what's true. We need to give people purpose. If you look into logotherapy or existential therapy, Viktor Frankl, purpose is the leading cause of what we do. The reason that we go on is because we have purpose. And so if you don't care if people have purpose, then that's fine. But most people would say if you want to
have purpose,
people, then you should care about people having purpose.
People do have purpose.
Own purposes?
I have purpose. My life has meaning to me.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I'm free to derive whatever, I can, purpose is this malleable thing, and that's beautiful.
Sven, we do got to wrap up in just one moment. So, is there anything you'd like to leave us with?
Just that there's a lot of Kenneth saying that he's reached this level of enlightenment in the determinist view.
not enlightened by any stretch of the imagination.
I think more people should acknowledge that other people do need purpose from a higher power. That's just how I.
But I think this is such a condescending. I think this is such a condescending and paternalistic way of looking at people, to say, okay, some people don't need, some people can care about what's true and figure it out and reach, understanding of the world and create humanist societies and have a secular morality, and that's fine. But some people, they need the invisible sky daddy that they can't justify for their life to have purpose. I think that's bullshit. I don't think anybody needs it. People have it, and people do derive purpose from it. But but because of the fact that all of these competing religious claims can't be demonstrated to be true, it creates so many problems. And someone's purpose could be to use their religious view could compel them to do wonderful things, or their religious views could compel them to do really harmful things. Both people have purpose.
I hear that. Right. I acknowledge that. The last thing I would like to end on is I just don't want it to put out there to the universe that I was being condescending, because I myself, I was talking personally, I need to feel like there's a collective consciousness to keep going. So I wasn't being condescending to anyone else. I'm only speaking for myself and the people that I know.
But are you arguing for the utility of that belief or for the truth of that belief?
well-being is your end goal, then utility should be what, and function should be what matter above.
I don't think that's true. I'm just talking to you. So you're saying you need to believe the universe has consciousness in order to continue functioning in here in reality. I'm asking, why is that the case?
Because otherwise, if I had to go work a 9 to 5 for 40 hours a week just to be able to have shelter and food, and there are people out there just murdering, and there are capitalists. I mean, not a single millionaire or billionaire has offered to fix the water in Flint, Michigan. We praise all these celebrities, yet no one's doing anything with their money. They buy Ferraris when they could buy a sedan and spend $2 million on people. So that's not a, I can only live in a world where they are clouded by an unwoke spirit, whereas
I would ask,
waking,
I just think
they're getting better.
Sometimes
I would ask,
selfish.
If there are selfish, shitty people squandering their lives and wasting every moment that they could be using to help other people, what does that have to do with your purpose?
Because that's not, well, because I wouldn't feel like I have a purpose, because I haven't been given a platform to where I can make a huge change like these people could. And it seems like all the people with huge platforms and celebrities aren't doing a single thing. So this isn't a kind of world that I would want to exist in. If this was a completely determinist world, it's determined horribly.
Again, I could say I don't want to live in a world where there's not a Ferrari in my garage, but that has nothing to do with the world I actually live in.
Kenneth, I'm going to let you.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
We got to wrap up.
I know we got to wrap up.
Taking way more time than I should have. So thank you, Sven, for the super chat, and also thank you for waiting at hold and taking the time out of your day to speak with us.
And I've enjoyed both my chats with Kenneth. I don't want him to think I have any ill will for him. So
I don't have any ill will toward you either, Sven. I would be happy to grab a coffee with you anytime.
Thank you, Sven.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
All right, bye.